Hey gang, it's Tamsin once again. I want to talk to you spinners. Real talk here, okay? We've all done it. We've all sworn, never again. And then we do it. You know what I'm talking about. The Malibrigo Nube fiber. It's so beautiful. Look at those colors. And it's a very fine micron merino. It's so gorgeous and plush, and we order it the first time thinking we're going to have this delicious spin. And then we get it. And I don't know if it's their process of dyeing or if it's the shipping, but it's always compacted. This one is actually not too terribly bad, but it is. It's compacted. It won't. You try to draft it off the end, and it's like pulling teeth. You can't get a smooth spin going because it just is so compacted. So we swear, never again. And then one day, we lose our minds and we say, can it really be that bad? So we order more, like I did. And yes, it really is that bad. So, because I love the final product, I mean, this is a very fine micron merino. It is so silky and gorgeous once it's fluffed up. And their colors, like, I mean, this is Wales Road, it's called. And the colors are just absolutely stunning and amazing. So I decided, rather than just banish it from my spinning arsenal altogether, see, look at how compacted that is. It's ridiculous. I'm going to find a way to spin this in an enjoyable way. This is the time when we can try things like fractal spinning, anything that requires processing a little bit more. So splitting our top and drafting it out, or maybe dividing it into sections and trying to spin a gradient, or any of those fun things that we just never get around to trying because this fiber is just too beautiful to say no to. And maybe you'll look out, maybe you'll get one that's not too badly compacted, because honestly, this one is not that bad compared to some of the ones I've gotten. But let's adjust the camera and we'll go over some techniques for dealing with this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful fiber, so that our dirty little secret of buying more doesn't have to stay a dirty little secret. Instead, we can buy it intentionally. I'll reset the camera and we'll have a go. So here's some yarn that I spun up from a new braid, or newbie braid, or however they say it. I have no idea how it's pronounced. And you can see that the colors are delightful. And the feel of this is so soft and springy and squishy. It is amazing. So to me, it's worth it to learn how to work with it. So I have here a braid of Wales Road. So for the purposes of our experimentation, I'm going to first split it in half lengthwise. So just loosen it up and just keep loosening it up until eventually the fibers will draft by each other and allow you to split it. You can see just from this alone how compacted this fiber is. It just doesn't want to split. So we'll start with smaller chunks. It shouldn't require that much effort to get a fiber braid to split. All right, so we're going to take this chunk and we're going to wrap it up, and we'll put that piece aside. All right, so let's talk fractal spinning. So in fractal spinning, you take your braid and you split it in half widthwise. So we'll just do that. Split it right up the middle. Now you want to keep track of which end is which. So we'll put the two ends together there. Finish splitting it all the way down. All right, so we will want to mark the end to start spinning from. So I'm going to take this piece of paper, and of course I don't have any scissors handy, so I'm going to rip out a little hole in the middle. There we go. And I'm going to put it on the end that we're going to start spinning from. So this marks our where to start from. Now we're going to take the other half of that braid and we're going to flip it upside down. Now, to do a straight fractal, you want to spin this all as one length, straight from start to finish. And then you want to take this side and you want to break it into smaller pieces so that each piece of this follows the same track as that. Now the reason I flipped it upside down is just for me, makes it easier, because then when I get to the end of the braid I can flip it back. All right, so we're going to take this one and we're going to split it into two. All right, all the way down the length. And I think we want each individual section to be even thinner, because you can already see just by splitting it, it's releasing a lot of that compactness. So already you can start to draft it. So by doing a fractal spin with this, you're doing a lot of the prep work in an easy way. All you do, split your top. So I'm going to split this half into 4. So we'll start from that end. Try to keep your pieces even. You want the same amount of fiber in each split. So here we're coming to a really compacted part. So if it looks like it's going to just go all crazy on you and then your fiber won't be even, just fluff it out a bit. And then go back to splitting. Like, look at these colors. They're so beautiful. There's no way I can say no to these braids. I just can't. It's just not in me to say no. So, therefore, we'll figure out a way to work with them. All right. There we go. Oh, we got one little bloop going on here. Which side does it want to go to? I think it wants to go this way. All right. So, we want to start spinning from this end. Oh, I got it all confused. I'm working at that little badoop. There we go. All right, so we're going to take these two ends and we're going to put them through our little piece of paper because we want to start spinning from that end. And we put that to the side. So we need to split this piece one more time. So we're going to start splitting. Try to keep the two sides even as possible. Split it all the way through. Okay, this one's going slower, so we'll catch it up. All the way through. All right. Now this fiber will draft. See? Now just by splitting it, it can draft. Okay? So then we take our two ends that we want to start spinning from and we'll put them through the piece of paper so we always know which end we start spinning from. So that's great for our fractal plies. We're going to apply these all end to end, starting with the same end every time so that that ply is made up of smaller pieces of the original braid. So now we need to loosen this up a bit. So we'll just take it out of the end here, put this to the side, go over there. So with most fiber braids, oh, we have a little chunk flying around here. It must belong to one of those. With most fiber braids, if you treat them like you're Indiana Jones and just give them a whip, that's usually enough to loosen up any compacting that's happening. But you can see with these ones, it's still pretty compacted. You're not going to be able to draft that easily. You can see how, wish you could see my face because I'm really pulling on that. So we want to loosen this up so we can spin it easily. So the easiest way, grab a chunk, give it a few tugs. Don't get too ambitious or you're going to pull it right apart. But just kind of give it a bit of a tug, kind of loosen it up a bit. And then you can go through and you can fluff. Just loosen up those fibers so you can start drafting. And get them all together. And just pre-draft them just a little bit. Just a bit. You can see already the fiber is moving easier. There we go. Just a bit. Just until they'll start to draft. You don't want to like draft it all the way out. You just want to loosen it up so you can spin it. And draft it just a bit. All right. So now we come to our next section. You can see we did extend the length of it, but not by too much. We can still draft from it. Let's take your next bit. You can try give it an Indiana Jones whip, but I usually just go straight to give it a few good firm snaps, which essentially does the same thing. Then just kind of give it a quick crosswise fluff. And you can see how much more open that's looking. So then we'll go back up. And we're just gonna just make sure it's ready to draft now. And the fibers are moving past each other. And some of the dyes tend to compact more than the others. The green hardly compacts at all. The purple seems to be the worst on this one. We'll find out when we get to this nice deep teal. Okay, so take our next section. Think of this as your whip snap. With non-compacted fiber, if you did this, it would just fling apart and you'd have two chunks instead of one. But because this is compacted, you can yank on it fairly hard and it's not going to go anywhere. So now we'll just fluff it. Then go back here and just draft it just a little bit. Not a whole lot, just a little bit, just to make sure your fibers are ready to draft. And that will also break up any compaction that's left in it. And you can generally tell when you're getting to a part that needs to be snapped a bit. Oh, see, that one was really loose. Okay, I can feel it in this teal right here. It needs to be fluffed a bit. So we'll just work our way down. It doesn't have to be a very finicky fluffing. You can see here there's a little piece of matting. So we'll just pull that right out, put it aside. It doesn't have to be a vigorous fluffing, just enough to kind of break up that bonding that's happening. And go back to your beginning. And just gradually increase your pull so you're not just yanking it apart. Draft it out a little more. And I know there's people who say never pre-draft, but in this situation, pre-drafting is ideal. not by a lot, but just enough so that your fibers will move. So just keep working your way all the way down your length of top. Okay, so I won't bore you with the rest of it. We'll just take our original organization for our fractal spin. This is the end we're going to start with. This is the end we're going to start with. Put that through the paper. And there you go. Now you can go to your wheel and you can sit and blissfully ply. I'll show you that part at a later point. So let's put this aside and we'll take the other half of our braid. You can see it's all compacted. And we're going to do some other experiments with it. Now, this one, the fibers are spread out pretty much. So I don't know that we'd be able to pull it into little bits for making a gradient. But because splitting your top actually takes a lot of the compacting out, right away we're going to split this in half. Right off the top, just split it in half. And already it feels so much better. Okay, these were our starting points. If you want to keep track of those, you can. Personally, with the multitude of colors, it's not really going to matter where you start. So the other option you have, split it in half again. So now we're taking our braid down to quarters, and we're doing it just for taking the compactness out of it. It's got nothing to do with colors or anything else. This is strictly to make it a usable fiber to spin. So I'm going to split it again. And then we'll just take these piles to our wheel. And once we're there, just fluff it a bit. Pull a piece off. Wrap it over your finger and spin from the fold. And what's going to happen there is it'll draft actually quite nicely off the side because you'll be pulling against the compactness. You may end up having to use more control with your fiber holding hand than you would normally, but you can see that it drafts so easily from the fold. That will also align your colors and give you a little bit more of runs as opposed to muddied or speckled colors. And the fiber just flows like you wouldn't believe it's the same fiber. It's so smooth. And if you do happen to get a piece that's badly compacted, you can just take it off, put it aside, deal with it later. If I do find chunks that are really, really harshly compacted, like this piece right here, you can take them off. You can run it through your carder, which will open the fiber, but it's also going to blend the colors. And half the fun of these is the colors. So generally, if it's really matted and to the point of being felted, I'll just take it off and put it aside for use in scrap projects. The point is to be able to enjoy all these beautiful colors without having to worry about the massive compacting that seems to be inherent with this fiber. So this is the, I don't know how you'd say it, Nube, the Malibrigo. This color I'm working with right now is called Wales Road. I've used this several times because it is so amazingly beautiful. These colors are my jams. I love teals, blues, purples. They're amazing. So now that I've got my fiber all pre-prepped, I'm going to go to my wheel and spin some of it up. Maybe I'll give you a little peek at what I'm doing there and how much easier your fiber can draft so that you can actually use this fiber, because it is so gorgeous. I don't want to see anybody not use it because they're afraid of the compacting the fiber and think that it's going to cause a lot of extra work and hassle. It won't. Use these techniques and you can use it easily and happily. Just try it.